It is 10:40 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the Eastern Caribbean. Indeed, it's time for Shakeup. Today's scripture reading is taken from John 3:16 and 17. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And of course, if you'd like to be a part of today's Shaker program, do feel free to call us at 457-9997. For those of you outside of St. Vincent, you dial area code 1784. And you can also call us via our digital number, which is 1-784-532-9997, or send us a WhatsApp message to the number 1-784-457-9994. Of course, my name's Narissa, and today the technical, not the technical operator, but the host for today's program is Mr. Augustine Ferdinand. Ferdinand, I don't know what's going on this morning, but I'm a bit tongue-tied.
Good morning, Narissa. For some, I'm a technical operator. But yes, good morning to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Those of you who are joining and listening to us locally and abroad. Greetings to those of you who are, of course, locked on and listening via Star and Garifuna Radio. Those of you who are, of course, on the live via social media, Facebook. Well, today I believe is the anniversary for since WEFM is in operation as a radio station. Things started out with that small studio that we are seeing on my right, extreme right. 26 years, yes, going almost 30. Congratulations to Jules Williams, the existing manager, Mr. Fredas, and the staff, and those, of course, who we had staff members who passed on, Jamelia, for example, and Jamila, and may she continue to rest in peace. And there are others who moved on, who would have assisted, including Mr. Blake, I think, was last year as well. And so, yes, thriving, continuing to grow. You have existing Kiran and Crystal, you have Rajiv, Jessica, yourself, and others who continue to make WEFM what it is. And so I want to congratulate you, and may WEFM continue to grow from time to time, of course. Contributing significantly over the years, bringing information, of course, Shakeup the program, which more or less spearheaded then by Glenn Jackson, who also passed on. And of course, you had Mr. DeFritos, who some persons may not know was once part of the Shakeup team. You have Mr. Crick, Mr. Bala, and others, and you have continuing to bat is Mr. Bones Bonady. So yes, very rich history on this point out at Kittel's fourth point, more or less. What happened? What happened?
Can I give away my question?
Oh,
My
Lord.
answer.
Lord,
to find something different now.
That's
fine.
She had a trivia organized here this morning to give away. Oh Lord, but yes, so yeah, but as usual, it's another interactive program here that you, the listeners, do enjoy. And as usual, you call and interact with us via the numbers 457-9997. That's 457-9997. And of course, you can call or send us messages on the WhatsApp number 784-457-9994. That's 784-457-9994. Well, on today's program, I want to focus on, of course, some things that are happening. I know there are persons seeing some photos circulated where it's being said that there's a temporary clinic that is being built in the South Rivers area. So I just want persons to know that the government's plan is to upgrade the existing one, modernize it to deliver more services. So therefore, in order to do that, and which going to disrupt services being offered from the existing one. You of course have to build a temporary facility. And there's also I know the other facility, which is at Byra as well, where some works also will take place. Not Byra, but you have South Rivers, Park Hill, and also to construct a new one at Byra. And that is because, and I think the Prime Minister spoke about the reason on that move by the government is that in case anything happen, and Byra tunnel, let's just say, for example, if the tunnel back off for whatever reason, that at least for certain services to be offered, that they can be done at these facilities. And of course, in addition to the existing facilities that are currently there, you have modern medical at Georgetown and also the smart hospital at Georgetown. And it goes into the vision of the government in continuing to modernize our healthcare sector. The vision in making sure that in the event something occur, you therefore would have certain services that are being offered to the people in whether North Central Windward and North Windward. Like I said, anything can happen that may block access to and from North Central and North Windward because of Byra Tunnel, and therefore the services at these facilities will be upgraded, including the plans to construct a new health facility at Byra. Now, today's program, I want to talk about our relations with the government and people of Taiwan, and speak on something that I know. There was an article on the weekend. I listened to a particular program last night where I think it was more or less regurgitated. This whole thing with the statement that persons are saying the Prime Minister made that there's the loan that we have with Taiwan is a gill, is more or less a hook in the gill of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but that really and truly wasn't what was said. It's more or less a hook in the gill of the NDP, because we all know by now that the NDP's position, policy position, is that they're if somehow they're elected into government, that they will switch diplomatic ties from Taiwan to mainland China. And so I want to play the recording because, like I said, I read a particular opinionated piece in the papers, and then I know last night on a particular program, the statements from that piece were reiterated and or regurgitated, and therefore I just want listeners to actually hear what basically was said. And also the Prime Minister in the same recording went further to speak about even the interest rate and the reason why the government framed the law in a particular way. So let us take a listen by the Prime Minister while he was on Morning Scoop yesterday at Star.
When I addressed the Taiwan question, the leadership of the NDP and some of their hangers-on and fellow travelers have been working overtime to see if they can divert people's attention from a public policy which they initiated. That is to say, they will break the all-party consensus in Parliament and promise the people that if ever, by some miracle, they're elected to government, that they will move from Taiwan and establish diplomatic relations with mainland China.
Yes.
And among other things, I pointed out in Parliament that for any of the NDP who wants to do this, the agreement itself and other agreements going back way into the NDP period too is like a hook in their gill. not in the kill of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Which is what they're trying to
Because
spin.
the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines want us to maintain relations with Taiwan. The point about it is this: how can you reasonably expect that Taiwan would organize a bank in Taiwan to give us soft loans, 20 years, 22 years, with 5 years grace, and the interest rate in practical terms oscillate between 2.55% and 2.83%? No. How do you expect to get that kind of a money? And you'll go and break relations and just walk away. So inside of the agreement, going way back, and they have approved them all the time, since from their time. And this last one, when I drew it to their attention, they went over, at least some of them, not Friday, went bend over backwards, knowing how unpopular their stance is against Taiwan, to try in a mealy-mouthed way to say they support Taiwan. But that's not what their policy is. But because they get a blowback from people, they're trying to talk with a forked tongue.
Yeah. So for those who read or heard certain statements made by a particular columnist, it isn't a hook in the gill of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that is why I always said for those who consider themselves to be journalists and like we have to be very accurate in our statements. There's a hook in the gill of the NDP, because it is the NDP since 2016 with the then president of the NDP, Mr. Eustace, and then the current leader of the opposition. He said that, like I played last week, it's not an Annie Eustace's position. It's an NDP position. The position that if somehow, by some miracle or what, they're elected, that they will change or shift diplomatic relations and ties with Taiwan and switch to mainland China. Therefore, for those who talk about it's a hook in the gill for St. Vincent, no, that's not what the Prime Minister said. No. It's a hook in the gill of the NDP. And that is why the NDP have been trying to backpedal. I mean, the MP for East Kingston, Honorable Fitzbramble, he stood up in Parliament and basically said that the NDP will more or less continue relations with mainland, with Taiwan. That's more or less what he said. But the leader of the opposition said that there's no such change in their policy. And I remember an article last year, it was hinted that even the vice president of the NDP, Sinclair Leacock, Honorable Sinclair Leacock, was hinting at a shift in that one China policy. So they're at loggerheads. And like I said last week, they're more or less between a rock and a hard place. Because on one hand, they realize that you, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we've seen and we've benefited immensely from the relations with the government and people of Taiwan, whether in education, in science, agriculture, international airport, infrastructure, including Rebecca Bridge and the like. Yes, program, for example, also. We've benefited immensely from the strengthened relations between the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the government and people of Taiwan. And therefore, we would wish that it continue. We have many students abroad, and Taiwan recently announced that they will be increasing the scholarships. and our students enjoy the culture in Taiwan. And none of them, despite what the leader of the opposition said, I remember in an interview, the leader of the opposition said that not only it was in, they believe not only that it's in St. Vincent's best strategic interest to switch to mainland China, but when the question was posed, so the current leader of the opposition, on what will happen to our students in Taiwan if the NDP goes about with the shift, he said, well, they can take up studies in China or continue studies in China. But none of our students in Taiwan wish to study in China. None of them. None. Not one of them. And that is because, one, the culture and the overall political system that they have, and also the fact that you can't switch certain credits to any of the university in China, you know? So that's one of the major issues there as well. And that parents of their children who are studying there, that you will have to think about when the time comes in terms of elections. And for those who wish for your children to pursue studies in Taiwan, that's also something that you will have to think about. But I can tell you here that it's in our best strategic interests to strengthen relations and to make sure deepen those relations with the government and people of Taiwan. Very important. And you can read about many other things putting into there's many articles surrounding. You can type it in China's debt trap. That's one. You can type it in whether on Google itself, or you can if persons who are interested in scholarly articles, you can type in Google Scholar. That's another search engine. And you can type in China's debt trap, and you'll see many scholarly articles written by persons in academia on China's debt trap, as in the policy of China towards developing countries. Basically, coming with good deals. You know, there's a thing that sometimes a deal is too good. And when you get that deal and you read the fine print, you then realize, boy, it's really not such of a good deal. And there are many examples of that with many countries, especially in Africa and Southeastern Asia, who took up on some of those deals and then realized that the conditions were quite steep. And in return, mainland China either take ownership of an existing ports. More or less, they tend to go for ports, whether seaports or airports, because everyone would know by now that China growth mainly linked to trade. And the more ports that they can take control or ownership of is better for their own expansion in global trade, and obviously expansion of their own economy, and also control of certain nations' economies. Because like I said before, a port is the door of any country. So there's those contentions there that persons will have to think of. But it is a hook in the gill of the NDP, because even though they may want to switch ties from Taiwan to China, you first of all have to repay all existing debt that we have. with Taiwan. That's the first thing. They have to repeat that. Now, that's over $500 million EC. Once we continue to get disbursement of loans, that's how much it will reach. And that is the first thing that they would have to think of. Of course, the other thing is that we have students in Taiwan who are studying, whether engineering, biophysics, or biomedical, those sort of sciences. That's another thing that we have to deal with. Would our students be allowed to remain there? I highly doubt, because when you cut in ties with Taiwan, you basically have no obligation at all to continue to facilitate, students. And therefore, more or less, they will have to come home. So there are those issues, and that's why I say sometimes we see people engage in what I call petty politics, but don't really sit and discuss a lot of these major issues, very important policy implications if persons are to allow these folks to get into government. But I'm quite confident that majority of intentions are right-thinking, rational persons who are capable of making good decisions and patriots, and therefore would not allow the NDP to move away, to have St. Vincent move away from Taiwan to mainland China, because the Unity Labour Party will continue to govern this country and continue to move the country forward. So that's a major issue there. And like I said yesterday, despite what some are saying, I listened to a particular program last night. All debt isn't bad debt or a bad thing. And if anyone looks at our debt portfolio with the government and people of Taiwan, you realize this investment in education, Argyle International Airport, hotel development, port development, infrastructure, all geared towards the creation of jobs, empowerment of people, and the expansion of our economy. Very important. I see you could say that with the people of SVG sign agreements to fix Taiwan hooking our girls, that our children and grandchildren will be born for years to come. No, Yoko. Because like I said, for example, we normally have 20 persons thereabout. I know the last batch was about 2022 persons who went to study in Taiwan. That's an investment in our children, a serious investment. And we've seen past students or past recipients of that initiative, scholarship program, return and contribute to St. Vincent's development, one of whom is Kenton Chance, who I'm quite sure many will say has the largest following in terms of online news, and is pretty successful at that. I'm quite sure persons would say that, as a journalist, as an owner of a media entity, he's one of them, recipient. There are government system, Mr. Jack, tourism. You have those who studied engineering. There are those who into sciences. And remember, on top of all of that, apart from what persons our students are studying in Taiwan, they also, very important, are able to speak a second language. And some may say that Mandarin, speaking Mandarin, being able to speak Mandarin is even more important now, given the direction the world is going. And there's also, in terms of those who are studying and those who benefited from scholarship opportunity that the state facilitated by the state and government and people of Taiwan, is that with those skill set and knowledge that our students are gaining because of the strengthened relations that we have and these Taiwan scholarships, I don't think, Yuko, that is a burden on children and grandchildren. What I would see it as is basically empowering them to continue to contribute to the local and regional economy. Yeah? Right, Yoko? So that is one. Because there are those who are of the mindset that, boy, this millions amount of money is a burden. No, it's adding value. And I'm quite sure persons pick up inside the recording played with the Prime Minister is that the interest rate, which is very important to her, the interest rate on these loans, 2-3%. Many of us would wish we get a loan for 2 and 3% or even 1%. Most loans today is 5% plus on the commercial market. You know, so very favorable terms in terms of repayment, interest over time. The other is the investment made towards infrastructure. And while there are those in the NDP who said that a bridge cannot be built at Rabaka for whatever reason, with the assistance of the government and people of Taiwan, it was built. And it continues up to present moment have a positive impact on travel to and from North Windward, but also on commercial activity, because now wholesale vehicles, whether trucks, vans, or the like, are able now, and even more so, to carry goods to North Windward. Same thing in terms of construction. And of course, where persons up north can have it easier now in going to work and attending schools further south. Very important. So, Yoko, no, it's not a burden. It's making sure that all these monies and the ties that we have with Taiwan continue to have a positive impact on our overall development. The other thing is that the contribution, Taiwan's contribution mainly was towards the construction of the airport terminal, the Agala International Airport Terminal. And today, and I remember when Minister Francis stood in Parliament and he said that the development of Argyle International Airport, the construction of it and completion, is not just for tourism, but it will be a catalyst for our overall economic development. That was before the airport was completed. You know. He stood in Parliament, I think at the time it was to get approval for additional spending towards its construction. That was his contribution. It will be a catalyst for our overall economic development. And ladies and gentlemen, no doubt, not only are we seeing more flights coming, but because of the Argyle International Airport, we are seeing rainforest seafood, the exportation of seafood out of the country. You have operations also in Bequia and other fish processing facilities. You also have hotels, of course, that are being built, room expansion in the country. So the contribution by Taiwan towards the Argyle International Airport is reaping benefits for our overall economic development. Now I see Yoko said that it is a lie that we were perpetuating over time to say that if the NDP get there, they will stop the airport. Well, Yoko, you know what I like about the age we live in? There's always digital footprints. No matter how much I try delete something, there's always a footprint there. Everyone know two things. One, the NDP opposed the Argyle International Airport. That's a fact. I remember the chairman of the NDP, Daniel Cummins, switch up and say they never oppose Argyle International Airport. But there are so many recordings that I have in my own archive where even Daniel Cummins himself and others oppose the construction of an Argyle International Airport. And they gave all kinds of reasons. I remember one of them, they said, well, there's no demand. For example, persons would remember that the then former senator of the NDP, Vinette Frederick, made up all sort of lies, even talk about wind shifter needed for AIA. Can't forget those things. And then you had, and I've played it here many times on this program, Daniel Cummins said, well, mainland St. Vincent doesn't have a tourism plan. That's why we don't need an international airport here. So many things. And to top it all off, even after Argyle International Airport was completed, you then had the current leader of the opposition who took it upon himself to write a letter to the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority telling them or urging them not to approve its operation and allow flights to land. Yeah, you call all these are archived and they're there. Now, another important point is that I think it was the 2015 elections. There's a recording with Daniel Cummins where it showed that part of their plan was even to basically have private investors more or less take over the airport. All that is there in record. But important today, going back to the original point, is that the contribution of Taiwan and the loans we borrowed for the construction of the airport terminal itself, among other things, have a positive impact on our development today. And trust me, we ain't even seen nothing yet, because I always make this sort of point. Let's not forget that Argyle International Airport was completed in 2017. Now it's 2023. Yeah? 6 years, basically. Five going 6 years. And of the 5 to 6 years, the pandemic period of 2020, the height of it 2022, 2022, 2 years. So you can basically say that the Agana International Airport operated mainly for 4 years because they didn't have any real flights going out, because of the pandemic. And within those years, ladies and gentlemen, you have daily flights for American Airlines. You have flights with CAL. You have Conviasa. You have Caribbean Airlines. And there are more to come. And we also have Virgin Atlantic. Flights that are operating in major international markets of all travel. Operating mainly now for 4 years. And that is why when I hear some persons compare, I ask them, go back in history, Morris Bishop International and the like, and see if they ever had something like this. Just within 4 years, more or less, in terms of real operation. You have these major flights from major destinations, servicing Vincentians, and making flight to and from these destinations much cheaper or affordable. Right, Yoko? And then you had Mr. Butchert of blessed memory when the conversation of the fish processing facility, and when he came here via and landed at Titi Joshua, he wondered how he was going to get seafood out of the country. It is only until after the completion of AIA that he then had that facility there. A real game changer. Breaking down hills, filling valleys, spanning rivers, despite those who said it's impossible, can't be done, or should not be done. Right, Yoko? And you have other contributions. For example, in agriculture. But I see we have 2 calls coming in. Let's take the call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand. I just want to ask a question. Now, NDP, the Labour Party, established relationship with Taiwan.
Yes.
When NDP, the length of time NDP was in office, did they ever attempt to seek educational opportunity for our young people?
They basically continued some of what was done by the then Labour Party. But in terms of actually going out of their way to, so to speak, not quite.
Seeking for I can't remember if anybody was going to Taiwan at the time to go and study.
No, not in that regard. No.
What I do know, minister used to borrow money from Taiwan bank for the private business, and they used to borrow money like our comrade, bring them in, and they using the money to help you develop the country. Because I was a nursing back one time when a guy from Canada, when a guy from the state come with a photocopy of a check, millions of dollars, and they borrow from because proof. Farmer minister. And the man was only interested in themselves, and it's still happening today. Because the good thing for St. Vincent, they do support when Renwick Rose, all the way in the left movement, used to support what good for St. Vincent and oppose everything ain't good. So I can't understand how the kind of dirty start they talking with Taiwan and killing me. I want to say this. We have to understand these people talking about Afghan service communists and this and that. They will say, he go take with this, he go take with that. the community in office and the poor people thing and the country thing is them who want to take with thing because when they break off the relationship from China, break off the relationship and go to China, what will happen to the amount of people that are going to get education and also
well, like I said, they'll have to come back home. They'll have to return home.
You follow? And people to home, I am think serious that the two parties important for Simbins, you know. And we have to understand politics is the science and art of management and somebody have to manage. We are afraid. And if they're going good and they're lifting you up, you're going and drop them to go to somebody who don't like you, who telling you, don't feed them so much. Because if you continue this development and generate job and education, we will get in power.
Mm-hmm.
It had tape, it a man who representing Central saying these things in this bright age. The two parties important, one of them to be positive today. Down the road, that's a dynamic step in, again negative, so the other one might be a positive, and we feel like them to manage we. But these people, like getting on, like if come and take with the marble, and any chance they get to dig him in the eye, to Hamburg kitchen, they go scramble back the thing. That the politics, you know, they not the politics of development, because then the politics of development. What good for St. Vincent, they would do like when the schools that Ralph and them in opposition used to do. Support for good for St. Vincent, but they only opposing and trying to create bad blood in society because the generation that this party raised up, you know, is an educated society. I know that because I went and do some plan in the university, and you could see the spread of people there is product of the education revolution. Some of them they just appreciate the poem. That some of them, me don't know them. Them I hear man stop to get me right, but me a man like that when me get ready to go down Camden Park. Sun hot. You let me park van and go down. When me coming back up on sun cool, me walk and come up as exercise, and before time we start to walk down there, walk come back up, and I just walk. So I seen thing happening that the youth and them gravitate to ideas because ideas is the most important thing. Nobody could eat Ralph, nobody could eat Friday. But if they come up with good policy and with ideas that could generate production, that is what we're behind.
Correct.
Me ain't behind Ralph because me love Ralph. Ralph is a comrade. But it's what he doing. It's what he doing. Why we have to support him? Because he put in food on the table and he growing in development. And we must understand that. So these people who want to say they want to go to China, how they go go to China and oppose in Cuba? Just sometime China show down a whole set, massacre a whole set of youth. That never happened in Cuba, but the Americans say that China is the favorite trading station. Cuba never shoot down hundreds of youth who demonstrating for things. If they break in the law, I deal with them differently. So how they go want to tell you come as a hardcore communist and then want to tell you to China, which is they say China is communist, one party state. So there's a real contradiction. We have to relate, and now my position, you know, as Marcus Garvey say, all nations regarding their own eyes. And if the people are satisfied with the system they're running in China, cause me to oppose that. If the people don't like it, they go blow them out because they had a big revolution to actually change the system. And the Chinese Communist Party like it doesn't listen to the people them too because the people them well educated. When the people them start to rebel with the COVID thing, coming out thousands and things, they cool this up and break down the thing. That is the importance of education, you know. When you have an educated society, the people them will stand up and talk. And the Chinese people like the system because you hear them telling you, the government will handle it. So we have to think positive and relationship with anybody. Foreign policy is a tool to enhance your economic development and expand your relationship with other people to grow well for the country. So that the mission that people like me come out on the street. And since I go in school, I involve in struggle.
Yes.
And we have to continue to struggle, my brother. and keep the negative people out of the scale at the dynamic stepping. Right? Okay, my brother.
Thank you, man. Yes. So there are many evidences that we have. Many evidence out there. A lot of evidence where we see Taiwan's positive impact on our overall development and the empowerment of our people. As I was saying, you see it in agriculture. You also see it in education, from buses to donation in terms of computers, scholarships, and the like. Positive impact. You have to come with the loan pertaining to port development, which is also significant. Because like I said yesterday, with port development, you expand the capacity for the exportation of goods and services, well, goods in particular. You also have in provision of jobs, service-based sector. You have surrounding the port itself, I'm talking about the cargo port, is the existence of commercial activity surrounding all ports. You normally have that, whether airport or seaport. You always find that there's construction and development of businesses, and they too provide jobs. So, despite what you hear some persons say, millions amount of dollars, etc., X, Y, Z, and the other, how we're going to repay, like I said, the interest rate is very low, 2.5%, 3%. And once you have these activities ongoing, no doubt they will lead to job creation and expansion of our economy. And once the economy expands, it will no doubt lead to a reduction in our debt to GDP. Because I like I said, I listen. I also read a particular article and where they say, well, if we didn't have the debt forgiveness, it would have been by now 100% of our debt to GDP. Well, first of all, some of these money is not even disbursed yet. But it's based on the agreement we have with the government and people of Taiwan. But some of them ain't even disbursed as yet. But you have persons writing articles and going on program and say, well, if we didn't get the debt forgiveness from Venezuela, it would have been by now 100% of debt to GDP. No, false. But let's say even that as it may, with these developments, you will have an expansion of the economy and therefore the debt to GDP will be reduced. Well, let us take this other call. Good morning, call. Welcome to Shakeup.
Mr. Ferdinand, good morning, my brother.
Yeah, man, good morning.
Good morning to teacher Debbie. How are you doing, my girl, my lady, honorable lady? Have a good day. But Mr. Ferdinand, when you talk about debt and to GDP and all this kind of thing, and what it might be and what it should be. But I'll tell you something. Now, with this jokers in government, you want to see no investment in education, you want to see no investment in airport, you want to see no bridge over Babuka, you want to see no housing, you want to see nothing that good for citizens. So, as banana is gone, so we diversify around nothing. Like how we airport, you have to call airport is complete diversification among all these things pertaining from monocrop, our name,
yes.
one crop
economy.
All different crops. We have a fish centers, we have a Dashin, we have a Tumarak and all the kind of thing that this airport you could fly out directly. The people flying out bushes, all kind of bush, breadfruit, all kind of different boats to America, and that bringing in income to Sylvan too. So when this fellow talk about borrowing money, when them they say they are surplus and they couldn't even self buy, they couldn't self buy a little boat to go back to transport water because a little boat that they meet they roll on and roll off. I think they said that little plane that kettle did left thing. They sell and destroy everything, and them they had no plan did no plan to Sylvan at all. And them was little better than them will want to come now. The destruction, the earthquake that want to come to shake on everything. You know, you are talking about airport. You know, back I say, after they don't criticize airport and find all kind of faults, and back I say, you see, airport is a big free country. We will go over to private sector, find something, what is run it. All this kind of thing going to these people mind, you know. Because they have no plans and they have no all they want to get in government to say they was minister this and minister that and who is prime minister and get the prestige and all kind of things to see what them was this and that. They make care about children to whether education or airport or what. Them fellas want to feed well and walk and people and give people impression that they have education and they're bright and all kind of thing. But the kind of education them people they say they have, when I listen to them had to go and learn all over again. And I doubt them they could learn because common sense speak like all kind of thing. These people have no common sense.
Well, it's serious.
They're talking like you're educated. They're talking like people that have sense and people that care for people and like that. And people say them they get involved in destroying everything that we have help from help the right now. Because they don't care, they care about themselves. When they could breathe, they care about nobody else. And in order for a man to make a living around them, as far as I don't want to smuggle and do all kind of wacky thing to survive and eat them day. Because them fellas they destruction and they came on nobody. Who could smuggle best will survive and eat them day.
Right,
and that's how I see them day. But I wanted to do a resort for me, Mr. Ferdinand. Now I hear by the news. And afterward, little rumors behind it, that when they talk about Taiwan and China, that China and Grenada, that the last thing I heard that they was to take Iraq and Grenada because them fund that war. And they wanted was to, well I know for sure, I hear that in the news, I hear it in my own ears, that they build a set of housing. Like we been in Sylvan too.
Yeah, I know of the small homes that they basically complexes actually.
And they take them over and rented them and get money to pay back China. You hear about that?
No, I haven't thought of it.
Yes, well that's why I hear about the news that the houses and that they build. They build some high rise where they call them and they rent them back in order to pay themselves. You see, the danger about China. China lend the money to a certain amount of time. And if you can't pay back, they see something. And they will let you, as you say, if they leave Taiwan and go to China.
I think, Stephen Reza, I think I understand now what you're talking about. Is that the Chinese developers, because normally with these Chinese loans, what happens to as well, and I think Sir James actually highlighted that point, is that the infrastructure projects they're working on is also being done by Chinese contractors and workers. And in return, these accommodations, they rent them out and the revenues generated goes back towards the loan repayment. I think it is something similar to what I talked about some time back with the toll road development in Jamaica. Something similar as well, where the Chinese lent the monies to Jamaican government, and in return now, because of the road done, they had a toll, and all revenues collected at the toll went towards repayment of the loan. It was a hell of
exactly.
It was a hell of a
they
thing.
Don't take chance to nobody at all. And the last thing that people believe, people believe that China is a better roses, because to Mamagai people, you're going to China because China is a better roses. But I was seeing on Facebook, Instagram, one of them news thing clip that Chinese America who think is 20 something $30 billion trillion dollars in debt. China who 50 something trillion dollars in debt. So China have the burden and America have the burden, but China not to say about the roses because China holds. This is China who the most money in the world, in debt in the world.
The thing is, look, one of the things that's why I keep saying, I hear, like last night I heard on the program, debt to GDP 100%, this, that, and the other. Both countries have very large economies. And as much as we may hear trillions or billions of dollars in debt, one of the things I do know is that the Chinese government also own or absorb some of Americans' debt. And it's part of the international financial system. It's nothing new. These countries are able to absorb these levels of debt. It's simple as that. The economies are large. They are integral players to the global trade system. So it's not really a big issue, you know. It's the same thing with Japan. You know? Japan has a debt to GDP of over 100 and something plus. They have a declining birth rate. They are a natural increase, but they have a very large economy that it's not really a big issue for them. You know?
The reason why I bring up this is because the NDP is telling people it looks like CBC only feels that is debt.
No.
Other countries, and in order to develop a country, you got to go in debt. But smart debt that you could pay back a loan like you have. If two boats will come in, then they bring in 4. You better have to take 4. There's more money.
Exactly, that's the point.
And the airport bringing in development that you borrow money to do them things they so.
Exactly.
So therefore your country could deliver.
Exactly.
But when the fellas talk about debt and debt, then I explain and tell people the reason why for debt to toilet, almost the whole country know that only them and the people them that they fool in might be turning a blind eye. Because them know that I think what they're saying is wrong, you know. But their intention is they could lie and outsmart people. Because their intention is to rob a country. Them whole intention, I say that to don't want them, is to rob Sylvan so and show off themselves and people. But anyhow, my brother Ferdinand, and you have a good day.
Blessings. So we'll take a short break and then of course resume the Shakeup Radio program.
The flavor nice, it's locally made. Affordable price, Lord, up to $3 retail. When you see we line it, when the red and white case, show me what you like it. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. With over 60 years experience, hold the best tobacco, best ingredients. Yeah. This is your boy Lou to say, support local, buy your cigarettes from Empire Holdings Limited. 10 cigarettes in a pack for up to $3 retail. Remember, smoking is not for minors.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a whole new world out there. Reaching new customers and getting products faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean islands. Providing excellent import, export, and e-commerce solutions to put you ahead of the competition. For special low rates on small packages and air cargo, contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack, Interprime Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
At Lynch Caribbean, yes, we offer comprehensive insurance solutions and broking. But we are more than an insurance broker. We drill down to your core business strategy. We keep a pulse on risk to keep your operations healthy.
On your mark,
Yes, sir.
Along the way, helping you to drive competitive advantages. At Lynch Caribbean, we have your back. Contact us today for insurance solutions, strategic risk advisory, and more. Call 453-3300. Email info@lynchcaribbean.com or visit our office in Beachmont, Kingstown. Follow Lynch Caribbean SVG on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or visit www.lynchcaribbean.com.
It's everything you'll ever want from everywhere. Real easy. Shop on the net. Use eZone Internet Delivery. Get your online shopping delivered right to your door. A revolution, your evolution. Go shop the world. eZone from everywhere. Real easy. eZone. Go shop. Fast, easy, affordable. Shop on the net and get it here through the eZone.
eZone St. Vincent, local agent to BMC agencies.
99.9, the heart and soul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
No, 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 no.
With a t-shirt?
Okay. All right.
So yes, we are back in studio of WFM. Just a short trivia question. Of course, WFM is celebrating 26 years as a radio station, and you basically will be given the opportunity to win a nice T-shirt. So the question is,
Well, so as we know, WeFM is a privately owned company, and we consist of full-time as well as part-time employees. And as you would have mentioned at the start of this program, quite a few persons have made immense contributions to WeFM. Quite a few persons who have made immense contributions to WeFM have gone on to the great beyond. So the question is, what was the name of the host of Sunday Cruise, the most popular program on Sunday evening on radio, now deceased? So that's the question.
and I can answer it.
No, you can't answer it, Ferdinand. You already have a T-shirt, so why would you want to answer it?
I didn't get that T-shirt.
So the question is, what was the name of the host of Sunday Cruise, the most popular program on Sundays right here on WFM? Well, I think throughout the whole of SVG. I mean, you see between that time, 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock, you know, WFM always had it locked down, but that person has since then been deceased. What was the name of that person? 457-9997 is the number to call to answer that question. You win yourself a T-shirt right here on WFM. All right.
Okay, so yes, those of you who we have an answer, I think we have a call coming in here. Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I'm not sorry to disappoint you, Mr. Foden, and I'm not calling for the trivia. I know you might want to put a charge to me, but again, that's just two things quickly. This morning, your topic surrounded development and the misinformation going out.
Yes.
Development of one's country is predicated on a number of factors / pillars.
Correct.
Education, telecommunications, a deep water harbor, an airport of international standards, and good road network added to an adequate and clean water supply and a reliable energy grid / electricity. You look around and you read so much going on. And when the policy of a country's government and its governing political party is divorced, its foreign policy is divorced from the policies, its social programs and policies, many donor agencies and countries out there will be very, very hesitant to assist you. Your foreign policy, your domestic policy regarding health, education, roads, sports, socio-economic development must go hand in hand. Agencies, lending agencies are very particular what you use their money for. So for the opposition to be dilly-dallying over the one China policy and expect it will serve them in good stead if, and I repeat, if they get into government, they better have a retreat on that. The other issue, Mr. Ferdinand, yesterday you touched on it, and you and I have had those discussions in the past. The issue of hard courts and plain services. The people who want to beat the Prime Minister over the head with the proverbial drum, they have not gone to playing fields and see the conditions of those playing fields after a FET or even the hard courts. I have covered events at the Curtains hard court, and you have to be picking up pieces of broken bottles from the surface to avoid injury to netballers. We go to playing fields, and we have to walk the track to ensure that there's no pieces of bottle or bottle stoppers on the surface that will injure a student or an athlete. But people want to beat the Prime Minister over the head. I mean, the Prime Minister took a long time. You have been extremely patient. And if there are civil servants who return the security fee to those groups having sets without first examining the facility, those persons should be disciplined. Last year, St. Vincent was down to host the International Males Netball Tournament. Are persons aware of the conditions of the Annersville hard court after a FET? The conditions it was left in? Are persons aware of that?
Well, I shared the photo yesterday to refresh person's memory.
I mean, yes, they talk about boxing plans. Okay, boxing plans is still public property. Why is it the promoters of events, of FETs, do not come together and form a company and either lease or purchase a piece of land and build a facility? There is one on the way to Georgetown. I think it needs a bit of development after Black Point, I think it is. There's a nice facility there. It needs a bit of development, but that can be used as a venue for such fets. Why not those promoters come closer together? They are making the money. They are charging $200 and $300 and $400 a bottle of alcoholic beverage. They're making the money.
My friend, you make Narissa open her eyes. But we know this is true.
Why she open her eyes?
I don't know.
You just have to do some. I'm sorry if I send you to your eye specialist, miss.
But that's normal thing. That's normal thing right now. $150, $200. Yeah, normal thing.
Yeah, a bottle of Sunset you will buy for X amount of dollars in the supermarket. You better walk. You better walk with your gold card when you go into those fets to buy a bottle of Sunset. They are making the money. So if you are interested in developing that part of the hospitality industry, why not the promoters come together and say, government, here is what we plan to do. We have this, we can do this. What can we get from you? So everything has to be government. They're complaining about the hard court. The hard court playing facilities are not for those type of fets. Look at what transpired at Carnival last year at Victoria Park. Have they forgotten that? Let us be serious. Let us be serious for one outside agencies. See the way we treat our facilities. Do you expect them to bend over backwards to loan or even grant money to us? We need to ask ourselves those questions. We need to ask ourselves the questions, why is it we have an opposition that is yet to form up its own foreign policy? Where do we stand? So the people can say, okay, this is what you are doing, this is what. And Taiwan, based on what the opposition have said, and based on what they experienced in Grenada, where they had to take the Grenada government to court in the U.S. to recover its loans. So what you want the Taiwanese to do? If I borrow $1,000 from you, Fudi, and I decide to do something else and not repay you, you have to find a way to recover your money.
Yes.
The Taiwanese did that in Grenada because the Grenada government decided to go to China after Ivan hit them in 2004, 2005. So they went to China because there was an approach by the then Grenada government to the Taiwanese government for some sort of debt restructuring. And there were a number of issues the Taiwanese government was not happy with in terms of financial management. So the Grenada government felt that the Taiwanese were not serious about helping them after Ivan, so they went to China. So when they did that, the Taiwanese said, okay, you have to pay.
Yep.
But there was a settlement. There was a settlement out of court. There's a settlement out of court, but again, those out of court settlements tend to have a clause that you cannot reveal what the settlement was. But I can tell you, China coming into a country is not to the benefit of one's country. One, they don't just borrow the money and tie you down where they can repossess property afterwards. But they bring in hundreds of their own nationals to construct whatever project they are funding. In St. Lucia, they brought in hundreds to construct the George Odlum Stadium. In Grenada, they brought in hundreds to construct a number of multi-story buildings, some used as for accommodation. Yes. And then they stayed on. They stayed on. People need to understand that when you do business with a Chinese man or woman, or Chinese firm, you're actually doing business with the government of China. So while people are saying China have a lot of money, China have this, you need to understand that we cannot afford St. Vincent and the Grenadines to do like Jamaica. What the Jamaicans had to hand over 500 hectares of property to the Chinese because of issues in repaying the loan. Because remember, the Chinese just funded a new highway in Jamaica.
Yes.
They had to hand over 500 hectares of property. So we need to be careful. So instead of people who are quote-unquote journalists, but write once a week, the people need to do research, and if they have to pose the questions to people like you, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Prime Minister, okay, fair and square. But do not just swallow the Chinese pill, for when it reaches down in your stomach, it will be extremely bitter. Too many countries now, in Sri Lanka, in Africa, in the Caribbean, are paying a price as China seeks to extend its reach, its military might. That is why they are hell-bent on securing ports. Have a nice day, and I do hope you will maybe show Crystal the ad of the cost of beverages at these fairs.
No Crystal is, no, sir. But yeah, man. Yes,
Nerissa,
yes, yes,
sorry.
yes, yes, yes. All right, man. Thank you very
All
much
right.
for your contribution. But yes.
But we have someone who answered the question. This person did not call. This person answered via WhatsApp. Let's see if we have this same caller.
Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Is this Irvin?
Hello.
Is this Irvin York?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
good morning.
you're
Yes,
live.
we're
You're
hearing
live
you.
on
Is this
WEFM.
Irvin York?
Okay. Is it St. Escott?
Yes, it is. Is this Irvin York?
No, I'm Judy Neverson.
Judy Neverson. Oh, all right. So we had someone who actually answered via WhatsApp. So that was the first person to have answered correctly. Yes, we'll have to take and we'll have to go with the first one, the first person who would have answered the question in all fairness. And I think we have this person. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my friend.
Good
Can
morning.
you turn my sound system on, eh?
Oh, so Irvin, you're a male actually.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a joiner by trade.
Okay, all right. Welcome. And you had said indicated in the WhatsApp text that you would have sent the name of the person is who?
Of Vin?
No, the name of the person, that the answer that you gave.
Sinclair Scott, my
Saint-
friend.
Saint
He's a
Clair
very
Scott.
thoughtful and he's work at
Cable and
wireless.
wireless. Correct. All right. So I'll liaise with you via WhatsApp and I'll indicate to you, give you further instructions as to how you could be able to retrieve your prize. All right.
That T-shirt they can just hand it to the guy Richie.
Or DJ Richie?
Yeah, and he will leave it by the shop of it.
Not a problem. Thank you so very much for calling.
Okay.
All right. You're welcome. All right. Okay. All right.
All right. And I was discriminated against from not entering the conversation. All right.
Ferdinand, sorry.
Yeah, man. All well and good. But yes, and congratulations to you, Mr. York, winning your T-shirt. Well, like I said, 26 years, almost going 30, next 4 years, not bad. And contributing to development of discourse in St. Vincent and Grenadines, providing reliable, accurate information, and of course, touching on the issues here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Yes, WEFM, clean, fresh sound of St. Vincent. But a wonderful contribution there by Robertson, and it touches on some salient points pertaining to what's called the China's debt trap. And it's something that we all have to, take caution. The NDP really don't care. I always say this, people think is a normally a joke, or they may say, well, I'm biased, but really, actually, the NDP don't care now. Despite all these things, this port getting taken over, this economy have to pay this lump sum of money, all this, they don't care now. All the NDP cares about, look, once the money coming in good, once they could benefit, that's all that matters for them. They don't care. They don't care. That is why, remember, I spoke of it from the manifesto in the NDP's actual manifesto for 2020. They said that they will have a private investor build the hospital. That's all I should tell you. A private investor to build hospital. So for all those who, talking about cost of healthcare and thing, investors get involved to make money. Yeah, not to provide free services. That alone should tell you. I ain't making this up. It's right there in NDP's manifesto. They didn't say a private company to manage it or whatever, to actually construct it. And that alone should tell you about the NDP. So we're building a modern port. We surely don't want to lose our port to any Chinese investor, neither our airport, you know. And the relations that we have with the government and people of Taiwan, they continue to benefit us significantly. The relations that we have with them also benefit them. We, of course, go before the international community and continue to lobby and to raise the alarm that, you know, every state has right to self-determination, and every nation of people have a right to determine their own course, and they're a sovereign nation. They're not a province, and that has been our policy since the establishment of relations with them from St. Vincent Labour Party under Robert Milton Cato. And up to this very moment, we continue to strengthen those relations, and we benefit mutually from it. And there's no need for us to deviate from that and say, well, we're going to shift to Beijing or to mainland China. Because trust me, like I said, all you need to do is type in China's debt trap. That's all, you know, and you'll get so many examples. That alone should tell you. So again, thank you for listening, and until Thursday, do have a safe and pleasant afternoon.
Yes, Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Good to see your immune system is up on the up. You know what I'm saying? You're not. Yeah.
Nobody giving me the flu. Nobody giving me the flu. All right. Thank you.
Made affordable price, Lord, up to $3 retail. When you see we line with the red and white case, show me what you like. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. It's cigarette from Empire.